Let's start. Just a second. Okay, recording should be in progress at least. Oh, that's the way it seems. Hello, we're holding Spurimysius, the story of Master of Prayer. Let's take a quick look and read the story B'ezrat Hashem. All right. So, one sect said that the main purpose is joy. Because when a boy is born, people rejoice. It's a wedding, people rejoice. When a country conquers a country, they rejoice. Hence, the main purpose is only joy. Therefore, they sought someone who would always be joyful, or he would be close to the purpose, and he would be king over them. So they went searching and found a Gentile going around with a dirty shirt and carrying a flask of brandy wine. And several other Gentiles were following him. This Gentile was very happy because he was very drunk. And they saw that this Gentile was very happy. And he had no worries at all. So this Gentile pleased them, for he attained the ultimate purpose, which is only joy. And they accepted him as king, and for sure he led them the right path. It shows the land is conducive to their purpose, namely place of vineyards and the like, that they should make wine. And for the seeds, they made brandy wine. And nothing should go to waste from the grape bunches. Because this was the ultimate purpose for them, to drink, to become intoxicated, and always be happy, even though there's no relevance or basis for their joy. For they had not at all, were happy, had nothing to be happy over. Nevertheless, this was for them the purpose for them, to be happy for nothing. And they chose the land conducive to this as above, and they went and settled there. So we started speaking about this last week, and we said there that of course there's truth in the fact the world was created for joy. And the main thing that Kodesh Baruch Hu created the world is ultimately for the joy of knowing Kodesh Baruch Hu. The thing is that these people are happy for no reason. That too has, as we said last week, this has a basis in truth. Because we have a goal to be close to Kodesh Baruch Hu and to serve him. But many, many times we don't feel that closeness. We can feel downtrodden, we can feel maybe physically, emotionally unwell, whatever it is. But the thing is that we need to make ourselves besimcha and whole because we know that we are connected to Kadosh Baruch Hu at all times. A simcha de kedusha brings a person a meichin the gadlus. So it says that when a person has expanded consciousness, his mind is free to contemplate and to decide things according to the way that the person desires and feels it's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, whatever. But when a person is chas v'chalila be'atzvos, he's sad or depressed, sorry, then there is what you call a constricted consciousness. Constricted consciousness makes it impossible for a person to conduct his mind freely. It's like a person is like losing his talents. Especially a person is losing his or her compassion. When you take a dialogue between a husband and wife, and the husband is pressured, has money pressures. Yeah, it's a normal thing. And the wife comes to the husband and she says to him, listen, we need to get a new sofa. Let's get a new sofa. Because I can't have my friends, my girlfriends come. I'm embarrassed to show them in. So, feeling pressured because he has money pressures, the husband feels inadequate. And as he feels inadequate, his consciousness becomes constricted. So when he answers her from his fears, from his feeling of worthlessness, from his constricted consciousness. And he's telling her, I have no money for this. The wife feels rebuffed. She feels that she is like second tier. And she becomes constricted. So she tells him, all you ever think of is money, money, money. And that constricts her further, and he loses his elasticity. So he tells her something like, you're just like your mother. So we know where all this is heading to. As they become more and more constricted, their expansion, they lose their elasticity, their ability to include one another, to support one another. And until it becomes like almost a point against a point, and that's the point where people, when things, degrade. But if, for instance, let's say the wife comes to the husband and says to him, listen, we need to get a new sofa because I'm embarrassed to bring my girlfriends over, and whatever she says. And the husband if he thinks with compassion, so he doesn't listen to what she's saying per se. I mean, obviously he hears what she says, but what he's listening to, when a person has compassion, he's listening to where she's coming from. I don't feel special. I feel embarrassed. Now, that doesn't change the situation, the fact that he cannot afford a sofa. So if he keeps his expanded consciousness in place so that he can actually decide what to do freely and not be channeled and funneled into an argument, I'm sorry, we say something like, that is a great idea. You always have the best ideas. And you're right. We need a new sofa. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. How much does a new sofa cost? I don't know, 3,000-4,000 shekels. I says, I'll tell you what. Why don't we put, 2 or 3, maybe 400 shekels, we can afford it, a month aside. And after like 10 months, you can have like 4,000 shekels. You go and you buy the best sofa you can think of. He's already given her room to maneuver. First of all, she was acknowledged. So she remains in an expanded consciousness. So she's able to see his point. So she may try maybe to sneak in, to push and say, something, maybe we can borrow the money and then return it every month. So the husband says, I'll tell you what, I would have gladly done it, but the problem is that we are returning debts at the clip of, I don't know, 3, 4, 5,000, 100 shekels a month, whatever it is that we're doing. And borrowing more money right now is going to hamper us, because that means that if something goes wrong and suddenly we have an acute out-of-pocket expense, that means we're going to get stuck. We won't be able to return our debts. But if we put the money aside every month, maybe 1 month we'll have more money, we'll be able to put more money aside. But if we get stuck, something unforeseen can happen. We owe, putting this money aside to ourselves. We don't owe it to the furniture store. We can say, something, let's skip a month. It doesn't matter how the conversation is going to go. But what happens is when there is compassion, there's joy. And there's elasticity. There's room to maneuver. But when the joy is separated from the Kodesh Baruch Hu, when the joy is separated from the purpose of what the joy is for, then it becomes Amarti la simcha mazu oisa. What is joy for? What are we using the joy for? Simcha can can maintain the connection with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Because the Simcha, the Kedusha, gives a person, as we said, expansive consciousness. That brings him to Yira, into Ahava, to great Emunah Kodesh Baruch Hu. When a person falls into depression, so there's all kinds of judgments and klipas, he's tied to the Sitracha. So yes, joy, the Kedusha, is the Tachlis. That's the reason why a person naturally is looking for Simcha. But when one separates the Simcha from the Kodesh Baruch Hu, you want the Simcha for its own sake. That people are joyful. Why? Because they were able to achieve and to attain their cravings, or because it was successful their business, or because they won a game over someone, or whatever it is, or some kind of a piece of music that they heard, whatever it is. This is fake simcha. This is fake simcha. This is lawlessness. It's like the joy of the drunk. But we said, they found if this Gentile is going on with with brandy wine. It says in the Gemara, about drinking wine, that when a person is drinking wine b'kedusha, you elevate your moichin. Because the thing is that the mind tends to carry it's the nature of a person to be drawn towards sadness and depression. It's a nature of a person, and so a person goes around feeling like there's a weight on his shoulders constantly. So it's very difficult to be b'simcha, very difficult to open up the mind. But when a person is drinking wine b'kedusha, just a little bit, you notice that suddenly it feels like the weight is off. When the drinking is done in order to escape reality, you also feel the same thing. The beginning of any kind of high is euphoria. But then, then there's a trough, then it could come down, you come crashing down. When a person drinks wine b'kedusha, it elevates the moach, it awakens the moach of the bina. And a person becomes a roish, it becomes a head, the mind becomes free. And when the bina is awakened, a person becomes a simcha. Yain is samach levav enosh, levav is bina. So a person comes to dancing, and dancing that actually, Rabbeinu says, they ameliorate, they sweeten the judgments. But the people of this particular sect, they held a different kind of drinking. They held in a drinking of drunkenness, of getting high, being turned on. This is a simcha that loses the mind. Not lo zochor nasarash becomes poor. And the dancing that they do, they bring about excitement of the fire that's a heart. It brings on judgments. And this is what he says, and from the seeds of the grapes, they made brandy wine. The seeds, and it's a remez for the psoilus, for the thing which is that thing that after you produce wine, that's the thing that remains over. The thing that's not needed. This is alluding to the psoilus of the gvuris. This is the tainted gold, as I call it. All the trouble of the world comes from there. And the vineyard is the place of the avodah. As in Shayahu says, Kerem Hayala Yedidi, a vineyard, my friend had a vineyard. Instead of doing yain and sameach, yain that actually brings about simcha, they're making yain mishaka, the wine that brings about drunkenness. And he said that from the seeds they made brandy wine, that nothing will go to waste. What do they care? So it goes to waste. What's the big deal? Seed will go to waste. But the truth is that when somebody is zecher to true simcha in the Kadosh Baruch Hu, even if he loses a lot, he accepted the simcha. Because real simcha gives a person expanded consciousness, the godless. He feels like he has everything. So he doesn't pay attention to small little, little chesroinus. This is lacking, it's no big deal. Presence in making chasana is the simcha of things that were accomplished. Baruch Hashem, the child is grown, got married and everything. So something broke. So something broke. A kapora, and it's like but somebody doesn't have a true simcha of Kibbutz Hashem. He becomes irritated and becomes sad from everything, even the small thing. There's a story about in Medrash, Beten Rishoyim Techser, the stomach of the wicked is always lacking. That there was a Maisa of a goy that invited all the people of the city to a feast. Well, obviously he made some kind of good business deal, and everything was there on his table. He liked absolutely nothing except a gozei perech, which are expensive. I don't know what you call it, or kademianas. I don't know, whatever it is. So he took a table that was worth 6 loaves of silver and broke it. Somebody who made a suit to all the people in this town is because he was very successful at something. Normally, a person that's some kind of said, "What's the big deal? Little things, it's nothing." But because this is a joy of lawlessness, that comes from ployness. That's the wife of the Samach man. There is the root of all sadness, all loss, and all emptiness. So any loss, even a small one, and the entire simcha is ruined. That's it. I don't care about the whole thing. The whole thing is ruined. That's it. It's worthless. The schoik, the joy, becomes sadness. And a person is angry, you'd think that his world was destroyed. Because that's a tachlis with them, to get drunk, in order to keep this fake joy aloft and floating. The thing that we need to do is, the times of joy is what we should shoot for. Rabbeinu says that's the hardest avodah there is. Make yourself b'simcha from everything. And when you feel that you're not b'simcha, that you're missing something, that maybe you don't feel well, maybe things don't go the way. The first thing first. I've said it, I don't know how many times. You say thank you to Kadosh Baruch Hu. You mean it, you don't mean it, you understand what you're thinking, you don't understand what you're thinking. First of all, thank you. Because whatever Hashem does is good. Then no problem. Ask Kadosh Baruch Hu to help you, to get you out of it. I'll do it for kid. Kadosh Baruch Hu, I'm in this situation. I know it's the best thing for me, and I'm thanking you for it. But it's not a tachlis for me to remain ba'atzvus, to remain in pain, to remain. This is not a tachlis. So what can be done? I myself cannot get myself there because I'm very sensitive and I don't suffer well. Some people, are very stoic, when they experience uh suffering. I'm not. I'm very sensitive. Certain things I can withstand, certain things I cannot. The Baruch Shalom helped me because I cannot carry that. I want to be besimcha, I want to accept it besimcha, but I'm not really able to. Do me a favor, please, get me out of it. That's a very different kind of mindset than somebody says, okay, let me take a drink, or let me take a pill, or let me smoke something, or let me, watch something I'm not supposed to, or whatever. In other words, I'm taking things to my own hands, matters to my own hands, and I will make myself besimcha no matter what. The atzvus is not kosher, it's not mekosher to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Who made me there? Who brought me there? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ask him, ask him to take you out of it, to bring you to a Mechan Simcha. Then, okay, then there's Sechel Yashar, what a person's supposed to do. If you're in pain, you take a pill. A person is nervous, you can take some kind of, I don't know, some kind of, calming, whatever it is. It all depends. I mean, it's normal. It's just a normal world, but not, when a person is locked into this fake simcha. A person is really in a state of aggrandizing his pain to such a degree that nothing else matters, including his life, but to get rid of the pain, to get rid of that suffering that he's suffering. That leads people to using various substances or various things. And, it begins with euphoria and ends in tears. So yes, simcha is the beginning and the tachlis of everything, but it has to be connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Without it, it just becomes a crutch that cannot hold you up. That Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help us, that we should always be besimcha, always. Hashem, get ready, that Hashem, Uman, Shoshana, God should help us. We should be able to go there and be there with Rabbeinu HaKadosh. And with this schos, schos of the tzaddikim, say Shemus tzaddikim, whatever. Bezat Hashem, we're zecher to Gula Shleima, Bezat Hashem, soon in our days. We will meet in Mitzvah Hashem on Wednesday evening, Bli Neder.